riffs are too repetitive, the lyrics make no sense. All the songs are B-sides and the cover art's a mess. There's so much here to tear apart. Listen to it for a week, now that week has passed. It's Why I Hate This Album podcast with Tim and Garrett.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Why I Hate This Album. I am one of your hosts, Garrett Harvey. With me, as always, Reagan McNeil to my Pazuzu, co-host extraordinaire, Timothy Richardson. Tim, how you doing, buddy?
Really good, friend.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Gino, mark the date. Tim's doing great. Is there any reason for these celebrations, or you just haven't hurt yourself in the last 7 days?
No, I've hurt myself plenty, Garrett. I can barely walk. The point, though, is that I have all my bags packed and I am itching to go after the Dutch, Garrett. I have a great feeling about this year. 5 years in a row. I'm pretty sure I'm going to find those goddamn Dutch.
Aren't we still 3 weeks out?
Yeah, but my bags are packed and I'm excited.
I don't want to put you on the spot. I'm scared to ask. What does one bring to a fact-finding mission to the Dutch?
There's some hiking shoes. I assume there's going to be a lot of hiking involved.
Okay.
I've got my Gutra. I've got a handgun, obviously. I don't know.
Oh.
Listen, Garrett. Maybe I'll have to protect the Dutch. I don't know.
I am starting to feel less optimistic about your trip to the Dutch this year.
Sunglasses.
And folks, okay,
and
that's
I
not
got the
bad.
little thing that goes around my neck to hold my sunglasses because I frequently put them on my hat and then I lean over and drop them. So this will prevent
Your gaiter,
that.
yes, I believe it's called a gaiter. Now, Tim, I didn't hear among your accoutrement to investigate the Dutch a giant butterfly net.
Oh, Garrett, I carry that with me all the time.
Interesting. Your collapsible bee net.
Yeah. I mean, I do plan on returning with several Dutch interns.
It would be great if you returned from the Dutch with several of our interns, but those are almost certainly lost at sea. Now, Tim, I don't know that people realize. Hopefully, you do. If you're new to the show, welcome. Why are you starting with this one? But whatever. If you're not new, hopefully by this point you've figured out most of this. Can't say all for legal purposes. Most of this is not bits. We are sending Tim to the Dutch. Even weirder, we have tried to send Tim to the Dutch, and this is not a bit. 5 years in a row, or 4 years in a row. This is number 5. I can't remember now.
I think this is, let's see, 2018,
this might be 6.
19, 20, 21, 22. This is year number 6, Garrett.
Wow,
I'm going to find those goddamn Dutch. I was looking all over Africa.
Yeah. I can't say you didn't find any. The Dutch were found in Africa, but that's not.
I need a bigger
Dutch
concentration.
Yeah, not what you were expecting. Certainly not enough to be the land of Dutch.
Right.
So, yeah, we will send Tim to the Dutch. You better take so many photos. I can't. The number of times we have paid for you to basically go on vacation under the guise of a show mission, and you don't take a single goddamn photo. Making me question that you were ever there.
I've already begun growing my mustache out in case I find the Dutch.
Why do you need a mustache for the Dutch?
Well, it sounds stupid when you say it. I've heard that the Dutch have mustaches, and I want to fit in. I don't want them to think I'm some sort of
you that
boy.
as a joke at some point. I honestly don't remember.
Well,
I've got so many bits.
Perhaps if they don't have one, they'll respect me more if I show up with a mustache.
You know what? You're right. Either they will greet you as a brethren or fear you because of your, well, not you, because of, well, your mustache looks a bit like a chocolate milk mustache.
Now, but come July 13th, it's going to look real dirty, Garrett.
It's going to be 3 or 4 times this thick.
Yeah, my plan ideally is just to never cut it. I would like it to grow down beneath my mouth, so I have to part it to eat or drink my chocolate milk.
You're right. That's filthy. Anyway, let's keep moving. Plenty of more updates before we ship you off to the Dutch, assuming, again, that it does not get canceled for the 5th or 6th year in a row.
They were not canceled. I just went to...
Not the Dutch.
Yeah, well, I don't know where is the Dutch, Garrett, but hopefully after this year I will.
This is the year. I don't want to derail this episode any more than we already have, but this is the year. I have confirmed your tickets are correct. You are, in fact, going to the Dutch.
I'm going to meet a Dutchman.
At best. Okay, Timmy.
I'm going to rendition a series of Dutchmen for our intern program. And it's not racist, right? Because the last time, whenever I renditioned the South Pacific Islanders I brought back, everyone said it was racist.
It was.
I believe
You know what?
them.
Let me defend you very carefully. Your intention was not in any way race related. You thought you would round it up the Dutch.
Right.
You also should We learned that. They're interns now. Okay, let's move on, Tim. We have a lot to cover, kind of. What album have we been listening to for an entire week straight, in case people click on podcasts without reading the title?
We have been listening to the Wallflowers' 1996 sophomore album, Bringing Down the Horse.
And Tim, after an entire week with Mr. Dylan and his horse, I am super curious to legitimately ask you, do you hate this album?
Well, there's one problem with what you said, Garrett. It is not a week with Mr. Dylan and his horse. It is a lifetime with Mr. Dylan and his horse. I do not hate this. I am concerned you will get me there this week, because I will acknowledge up top, this is a mediocre at best album, but I really don't want to get there. I don't want to. Yeah, what about you? Do you hate this?
Yes. I loathe this.
This is an unusual situation, but God, I love it.
You know what? Let me just take all the humor out of my voice. I fucking hate this.
I'm so sorry, Garrett. We have listened to so much worse than this, and this is the one you vehemently hate up top.
This is pure hot trash.
I mean, granted.
Sucks juicy farts. I would rather listen to Youngblood than this.
No.
Yes.
No.
I hate this so much. There's zero way we finish this week and you don't hate it too. I'm going to get you there and back and there again.
I'm going to reverse get you there.
No way. No way. Tim, this is borderline an intervention. This is not okay, but we'll get there. We've already tipped the scales. Let's just make sure that we really hit the nail on the head, Tim. Just when did this sickness begin for you? When did you first bring down your horse?
1996, Garrett, about a week after it came out. Here's the thing. I bought this in 96. This was inexplicably popular in Saudi Arabia. I have no idea why 11-year-old Tim, Rage Against the Machine and Bad Religion fan, was interested in this for any reason. Like, this in no way seems like something that I would have ever liked.
So I think I understand this, Tim. I think this slipped in just under the radar. So you're not quite 11 years old. You were not Angry Tim yet. You were sweet little boy Tim.
This might have made me Angry Tim.
This was the straw. You were just like, you know what? This is fucking terrible. I'm going to go listen to a guy rap rock. Come on, Zedler.
Yeah, weirdly though,
this makes sense.
Again, I was into this, and I was into this probably throughout middle school, I guess. This is not an album for a middle schooler. This is an album for a middle-aged man who is twice divorced. But I was a Wallflower fan, Garrett. I was a flower fucker, is what they called us in the mid-90s. The 90s were a different time, Garrett. What about you, Garrett? Had you any history with these Wallflowers?
I heard the hits. That is to say, I know 2 songs on here, maybe 3. We'll say 2.5 just to be nice. They were not good then. They are not good now. And having heard all the songs in between those other songs, I can confirm, good choice, young Garrett. Good choice.
I could recite 7 of these 11 songs by heart.
Oh my God. What? Okay, because I'm going to make fun of you for the rest of the episode, let me take a moment to relate. This is your Deep Blue Something. For whatever reason, I really enjoyed the song Breakfast at Tiffany's by Deep Blue Something. And it just snuck in under the radar for me, and I listened to it all through middle school. It's terrible, objectively. So bad, in fact, gang, that Tim and I have discussed doing both the album and the single, and came to the conclusion that both of them lacked enough for us to make jokes. That's how bad that album is.
We put it off. We'll probably get there.
Of course we'll do it. What are we gonna? We're gonna run out of fucking shit. But we keep putting it off because we're just like, honestly, there's not much here. So, in all fairness, it's understandable. It's relatable. I get it. Now I'm gonna mercilessly mock you for it.
Fair enough.
As you do. Yeah. So this speaks this was not a song. This was not an album for a 10 or 11-year-old boy. That is weird. God, just imagine you being 12 when it finally peaks in June of 97, and you're just like, I knew him when there were nobody used to like these guys.
That's the thing, though. They were very popular with Saudi Arabians.
Oh, that's fascinating. Probably because it's so incredibly inoffensive.
Maybe. I think it's
Anyway.
very offensive. I just, now having parsed through these lyrics, I just didn't know what it was about.
Yeah, we're going to get to that in just a moment. But before we do, I am a little curious because I don't know shit about them. Take us on a journey, Tim. Help us understand who is the Who is?
You're right.
Yeah. Who is the Wallflowers and how did this album come to be?
Well, Garrett, I have a fun little surprise for you because to truly
doubt that.
do this album justice, I'm going to have to do an intensive and what biographers will describe as complete history of Robert Allen Zimmerman, aka Shabtai Zeisel Ben Abraham, aka Elston Gunn, aka Blind Boy Grunt, aka Bob Landy, aka Robert Milkwood Thomas, aka Ted Ham Porterhouse, aka Lucky Wilbury, aka Boo Wilbury, aka Jack Frost, aka Sergei Petrov, aka Zimmy, aka Bob Dylan. One of those I made up. Try to guess which one. I have 58 pages of notes on Mr. Porterhouse, Garrett, and every bit of it is necessary for you to understand the context of this album. Let me begin. Bobby was born.
Wait, just 1 second. 1 second. Before you begin, and I'm not going to stop you because I recognize that you're holding at least 2 knives. Not in your hands. Don't show me your hands like you're innocent. I can see the outline of at least 2 knives on you. Anyway, I'm not going to stop you, but I just want to say before this starts, and holy shit, this is going to take a while. That's not what I want to say. What I want to say is Jacob Dylan, the lead singer of this band, did not grow up with Bob Dylan.
You know what?
Having said that,
I'm going to be honest, I missed that in the history.
God damn you. God damn you.
Anyway, Garrett, Bobby was born in 1941 at the age of 0. God, that is a stupid joke, Tom. God damn it. Bobby was born in 1941 at the age of 0, is apparently what Tom thinks I should say, at St. Mary's Hospital in Duluth, Minnesota, then raised in Hibbing, Minnesota. His grandparents were Ukrainian and Lithuanian Jews who moved to the U.S. to escape the current and coming unpleasantness. They lived in Duluth until baby Bob was 6 when his dad caught polio, and then they moved to Hibbing, Minnesota, where his family ran a furniture store, and he first heard blues, country, and rock and roll on the family's radio, Garrett. In high school, Bob... In 1963, he released his sophomore album, the nearly impeccable Freewheelin' Bob Dylan. Most of the songs on the album were, of course, protest songs inspired in great measure by Woodence Guthrie and Peterick Seeger.
Hey, you know what? Hey, I'm just quick interjection. I'm going to make a sandwich. Do you want a sandwich?
I would, but okay. I'm going to bring the microphone in
I'll
there.
keep the headphones. I'll carry the mic. I'm going to move over here because this is clearly going to take another hour.
Importantly, there were dozens of outtakes, many of which were as good, if not better, than the songs on the album itself, a lot of which were released on the bootleg series 1 to 3 in 1991, although some had to wait all the way until 2014 for True Detective Season 1 to come out. George Harrison would say of the record... Attitude.
Tim, can I just interrupt you for a second?
In 1966, Bob was riding his motorcycle in Woodstock, New York, and had a mysterious motorcycle accident. Now, I say mysterious because Dylan would claim to have broken several cervical vertebrae, but there was no ambulance. He allegedly was never hospitalized, and he would later claim in an autobiography, "I'd been in a motorcycle accident, and I'd been hurt, but I recovered. Truth was that I wanted to get out of the rat race." So I have to assume that he faked the whole thing just yet. Santa Monica. Then Bob made it one of the worst career decisions and best personal decisions anyone has ever made when he converted to the one true religion, evangelical Christianity. Unfortunately...
can we just stop here?
Nope. Unfortunately, he also insisted on singing about it. In 1979, he released Slow Train Coming with Jerry Wexler and Mark Knopfler, for which he won an Oscar.
There's 40 more years.
For 40! September 11th, 2001, the day the world changed when POD released Satellite and Nickelback released Silver Side Up. Also, Slayer released God Hates Us, which we should probably do an episode on. Bob released Love in Theft, which the Wall Street Journal claimed had suspiciously similar lyrics to Junichi Saga's Confessions of a Yakuza, which is not an album, but instead a book that notably does not feature lyrics. Then Dylan got together with Larry Charles, going under the alias Sergei Petrov. Well, Bob has released 40 studio albums, 16 live albums, 96 singles, 7 soundtracks, 22 box sets, and won a goddamn Nobel Prize. But Garrett, we're not really here to talk about Bob, despite the last 2 hours and 17 minutes. We're here to talk about the Beau Biden of the family, Jacob Luke Dylan, guy who kind of looks like a slightly more malnourished and anemic John Mayer.
Oh my God, I hate you so much right now. Just know I'm going to cut 90% of that.
Better not cut any of that, Garrett. That was all gold.
Listen, it is. If we were doing Bob Dylan.
Do you want to do a... No. That's crazy. That's crazy. Let's not do that.
There's 30 years of Bob Dylan we can do. At least.
Jake was born in the Big Apple in 1969 to
I
Bob.
don't care at this point. I don't. Yeah, I'm definitely. All right, go ahead.
Jake was born in the Big Apple in 1969 to Bob Dylan and Sarah Lewins, whose relationship I have admittedly spent about 23 minutes detailing already. He was the youngest of 5 kids and grew up mostly in Los Angeles, where he listened to punk rock, being inspired to play music based on The Clash. That is, of course, a lie, but if you're the son of Bob Goddamn Dylan, you have to say something other than Bob Goddamn Dylan when asked why you play music.
Yeah.
After graduating from high school, Jake moved to the Big Apple to go to Parsons School of Design, but dropped out after a semester to go back to LA to make music. In LA, he met up with his high school buddy, Toby Miller, currently playing in a band called the 45s, and they decided to start a band called the Apples. They got a basser and drummist who both immediately quit. They got new guys, they changed their names to the Wallflowers, and began playing in clubs around LA, notably the Viper Room, Whiskey A Go-Go, etc. And they got keyboarder Rami Jaffe after Dylan met him in 1990 at a Jewish deli.
Interesting. So they're playing the Viper Room just towards the end of its heyday. Late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, so right after hair metal went through that place.
It's got to be a weird follow-up act.
Yeah, well, the Chili Peppers are coming in a couple of years. No, they've probably already been there. When did
they've already been there. These guys are basically preceding the grunge movement.
Yeah.
No, they're right in it. 90, 91, that's it. Ugh. They're so middle-age music.
Yeah, absolutely. This is music, again, for people who are contemplating buying a Corvette.
Because they always
46.
wanted one.
Yeah.
But it didn't seem prudent.
Right. The Wallflowers began sending demos out. Andrew Slater, their future manager, brought it to Virgin Records, and they got signed immediately without Virgin even knowing that this was in any way connected to Bob Dylan. Maybe. They had trouble finding a producer for their first album because they wanted to record live, but eventually Paul Fox thought to himself, yeah, I'll work with Dylan's son, and so he produced it. They released their eponymous debut in 1992. It had songs that were way too long on it, which would become a trend. Reviewers seemed to like it, even though it was a very slow-selling record, and they opened for the Spin Doctors and 10,000 Maniacs.
Wow, that's a big tour then.
Yeah, you were a huge Maniac head, right?
God, I don't really know.
Anyway, then the Virgin management that brought them in were quote-unquote removed, and so the Wallflowers decided to leave too. They went back to those same LA clubs, they kicked out a bass player, they went through some other lineup changes, finally being signed by Interscope in 1994, and then their drummer quit.
God, that's a lot of bandmates coming and going before you ever hit it big.
They got T-Bone Burnett to produce their next album. He was fresh off an assignment with the FBI to make Counting Crows a thing. Their guitarist Toby quit, so they don't have a drummist, they don't have a guitarer. That didn't really matter though, because they had T-Bone, so they recorded the album of the week, Bringing Down the Horse, and released that in 1996. Then they got David Fincher, just off directing Seven, to do the music video for 6th Avenue Heartache, which played on MTV and VH1 a bunch. They did SNL, they opened for Sheryl Crow before headlining their own tour, and Jake got on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine, and the accompanying interview was not about being Bobby's boy.
Yeah, that's got to be tough.
Yeah. They also played the Texas Motor Speedway north of Fort Worth, a place that conveniently has an exactly 5-mile, pretty flat road around it if you're in the area and training for a bike race, in front of 400,000 people.
Whoa.
Then they did co-headlining tours with the FBI's Counting Crows. They became sole headliners for that tour when Adam was called away to investigate a Baltimore drug ring claiming he had swollen vocal cords. They also played shows with the Rolling Stones and somebody that Tom is insisting on calling Daddy Dylan.
What? Hold on. That's implying that he's played with his father?
Yes. At the same
venue.
At the same concert, yes.
Okay, yeah, we'll get to that.
Dylan's not letting this guy on stage with him. Come on.
Yeah, we might as well just say it right here and right now. I could not find a single instance where these two have played together. Like, what?
Yeah, it's real weird. We'll get into it in general
thoughts. It might be the perfect metaphor for their relationship. relationship.
Yes, they don't have one.
Correct.
They might. We don't know. Anyway, by the end of 1997, this dumb album was the #1 album played on rock radio. They also got 2 Grammys for this in 1998. And then in 1998, they recorded a cover of David Bowie's Heroes for the most rewatchable film of all time, and also the definitive version of Godzilla, 1998's Godzilla. That also was the lead single for the soundtrack.
Is that why you love this band?
No, I did not know about that until just now.
Don't lie to me and answer this question. Is that why you love that movie?
Oh, absolutely not, Garrett. I love that movie for all the monstery action.
But I really hate seeing
Me happy. I know.
Yes, that is accurate. But no, I hate seeing Ferris Bueller so like inept and shitty. He's just a doughy idiot.
Yeah, it would be much better to watch his character from Ferris Bueller deal with Godzilla. But that's not the movie we got. And the movie we got is perfection in its own right.
Ugh, anyway, keep going.
Jake wrote a new album in 1999, but then realized all of it was terrible, so he scrapped the whole thing and wrote new songs, which was released as Breach in 2000. That album ended up getting leaked in its entirety to Napster about a month before its release, so it didn't sell well.
Did you buy that album?
No, this is the only Wallflowers I've ever heard. I have no interest in anything else they've ever done, but I've got
I don't believe
all
that's
the
true.
interest in this. It's 100% true.
Okay, that's fine. And that's your version of truth. My version is that you're a big liar and you love all their albums and you don't tell me things about this because you know I'll mock you.
Now, Garrett, this is the only thing I've ever heard of them. They toured on that disappointing album. They opened for The Who, they hit Japan, and they recorded the Bee Gees' I Started a Joke for Zoolander.
Oh. Yep, they sure did.
They recorded their next album, Whole on Tour, with John Mellencamp because they really know their brand. That would be Red Letter Days and was produced by their former guitarist, Toby Miller, who did not play on the album because he was not in the band anymore. This will also become a weird theme with these guys. They recorded a cover of I'm Looking Through You by the Beatles for I Am Sam, Sean Penn's greatest performance.
Oh man, have you seen that movie?
Yeah.
It's not good.
He does a great job in it, though. You really believe his character.
That's true-ish. Have you heard the soundtrack to that album? Or to that movie? Yeah. It's a real mixed bag.
They also recorded a cover of Van Morrison's Into the Mystic for the best American Pie movie, American Wedding.
Oh, God, it isn't, though. You know, Tim, I kind of want to do an episode just on the I Am Sam soundtrack, but rather than go into, like, the lyrics, because they're fucking Beatles songs, we just talk about how successful or unsuccessful the covers are.
Why don't we
a
just
shorter
listen
episode, but
to
fun.
the Beatles songs that were covered in that?
No, that's the opposite of what I'm going for.
Interesting. They did a Halloween show on the USS John C. Stennis aircraft carrier in the middle of the Pacific Ocean for soldiers returning from somewhere. It's a little unclear because, it's the middle of the Pacific Ocean and it's like 2005. So Laos? Are we still in Laos?
Not anymore.
Cambodia. They
There it
released Rebel Sweetheart again in 2005. In 2006, Jake did a solo tour with T-Bone Burnett and signed with Columbia Records as a solo artist. The keyboardist joined the Foo Fighters, and Jake released Seeing Things in 2008 and Women Plus Country in 2010 as solo albums. In 2008, their masters were destroyed in the 2008 Universal Studios fire, along with a bunch of Neil Young, Chuck Berry, Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf, John Coltrane, MLK Sermons, Tupac, Soundgarden, and Tom Petty, all, I think you would agree, on the same level.
Yeah, equally as important.
The Wallflowers got back together in 2011 with Jack Irons of Red Hot Chili Peppers and Pearl Jam drumming fame. They released Glad All Over in 2012. That album was produced by a different former Wallflowers guitarist for some reason, who also didn't play on the album. I guess a lot of people don't want to play in this band, but do want to hang out with Jake. I guess maybe they're hoping that Daddy Dylan will show up.
See, it's that, or they want to be in this band, then hang out with Jake, and they're like, oh, this is not worth it.
Yeah, but I'll produce it still. They
Yeah.
just don't want to
yeah.
tour.
Yeah, the touring folks seem to spend some, because the only person that's always in some incarnation is Jacob, and all these other people around him are like, yeah, that was fun, but I'll see you. Unless it's a Shin situation, and it's like, I'm kind of the Wallflowers, and you guys play the music I tell you to.
We'll get to that in just one second.
Oh.
In 2013, the Wallflowers toured with Clapton.
Ugh.
Then Rami dropped out as the keyboardist in 2013. He still plays with the Foo Fighters. Some other people left, Jack Irons left, and now Jake makes music with the Wallflowers essentially as a solo project. Most recently, he released Exit Wounds in 2021, 2021, and Jake made clear that not only is this a solo album, but all Wallflowers music has always just been him, saying, "There's never been one lineup that's made 2 records, so the constant is myself. If you think there's a sound of the Wallflowers, I'm making that with my choices in the studio and my songs and my voice." Kind of a dick.
What a dick.
Especially because if I had to pick a sound from this album, it would be organ, which is not a thing he does.
Yeah, it's kind of the one thing he doesn't.
And that's pretty much it, Garrett. LaFace.
And a hearty shalabeef to you. Great history, Tim. Let me rephrase. Terrible history, Tim.
That's the opposite of it's not rephrasing at all.
Well, it's a bit of a rephrasing. Honestly, it was great history. I'm going to edit out 2 hours of it.
You better
But
not.
the rest was good.
I'll edit it
right.
back
It's going to be
in.
more like 2.5. I'm so glad I had you sign that Final Cut contract when we
God
first
damn
started.
it.
Yeah, you not knowing what that phrase meant has never paid off more. I wish I'd thrown more language in there. Could have really saved myself a lot of heartache. But live and learn. That brings us to general thoughts. Tim, where to begin? I want to talk about the slow build of this album. Without revealing how well it did, I did a tiny bit of research on Billboard, and it hits the Billboard charts in July of 96, but it peaks in May of 97. This thing was a slow, steady climb to global domination.
Yeah, and I helped out with that. You're welcome, Jake.
Ugh, God, it's still so weird. He does sound a little more like his dad than I would have said at the start of the week. I didn't think he sounded anything like him, but that's not true.
He sounds kind of like him.
He sounds like my least favorite version of Bob Dylan.
Yes. Okay, sure. And the other thing that's interesting about that is my main problem lyrically with this is that it feels like this desperate attempt to be Dylan-y. Like, the lyrics are vague and they seem like maybe they're deep, but they're kind of just about nothing.
Yeah. If it doesn't flow right, your deep, complex lyrics just sound like non sequiturs.
Sure, yeah. That's the thing. It does. It kind of feels like he's written like a folk tale, but it's missing every third line.
Yeah.
And the problem is with Bob Dylan lyrics, even if you don't really get what he's talking about, you don't get the references, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes they're not references. There's just weird poetry that he's writing. There's the sense that Dylan knows what it is, right? It feels like a complete thought, and he's singing about something very specific that maybe you just aren't privy to, but that is a real thing. He's writing about something, or he's writing completely normally about something strange. And here this comes off as faking that and doing it in reverse, right? He's trying to have these inscrutable lyrics, and you can just feel the fucking effort.
Yeah, it's trying to ape Dylan style lyrics when your content is 100% the fray.
Exactly. Yes. But it does feel like this was supposed to be the soundtrack for some like gritty neo-noir, like hard-boiled detective film or movie about like an old boxer at the end of his career in like the 50s. But unfortunately, Garrett, that film is starring David Schwimmer, who was very big at the time. And
hey, look, I'm a boxer.
Yeah. The other possibility is, of course, that this was heavily inspired by like Pulp Fiction. And each one of these are like these little vignettes that are supposed to like interlock in a way. A lot of these songs, they kind of feel like less fleshed out versions of like Simon and Garfunkel's The Boxer or Cecilia or like Wednesday Morning 3 a.m.
Yes. God, I love all those songs so much.
Yeah. But you know how those songs feel, right? Like it feels like you're just getting this, you're looking at a still frame.
A snapshot.
Yes.
Yeah.
A frame from a movie, and you're getting 90% of the movie from that one snapshot.
Yeah, it's a detailed, bespoke picture of a Wes Anderson or a Noah Baumbach film.
Right.
Instantly, you are associated with the time, the place, the tone, and the people involved, even if you don't have a clue about the details, and it doesn't matter.
Yes.
This, I have nothing to latch onto.
Right. This wants to be that so badly.
This is our weird neighbor downstairs kind of inaccurately describing that same picture. It's got like, like one of those, it's got like a corduroy jacket and the patches. I don't know if it's leather. Maybe it's suede. It's gay. It's gay. He's got on a gay jacket and he's looking at his lady. She looks pissed. Like, it's not the same. It's not the same.
Yeah.
let's try to be even-handed here because, Tim and I, we're big fans of Bob Dylan. Tim apparently just celebrates the whole Dylan clan, not me. However, maybe it's unfair of us. I mean, the comparison is impossible to ignore, but maybe it's unfair of us to say that he is trying to Dylan up his music, and that's just us drawing a comparison because it's his son. But if not, and this is my biggest problem with this album, if you don't say either he's doing what you just said, then you're forced to reckon with the true meaning of the songs. And when taken at face value, you must apply some sort of unspoken details to these songs because there's nothing in them.
Maybe. I think that a lot of these songs are about a time Jake murdered a homeless man and stole his music because he has no thoughts of his own. We'll get there.
Okay, interesting, because I am pretty sure, and I fought this tooth and nail all week, I am almost certain most of this album is about a murderer.
Yes.
Okay. And if not, then what?
If not, then he murdered somebody and wrote an album about something different and it's subconsciously seeping into what he's writing about.
Or he murdered somebody and that person wrote several songs about the people they murdered.
Sure.
And he's haplessly singing them.
Sure. Well,
I also want to say, just in case anybody's unfamiliar, the rasp, Tim. The sheer rasp of it all.
Yeah,
he's a soft singer.
Yeah, it's not quite whisper sung, but again, that's what makes me think like he's definitely trying to do Dylan because this is 96, he was born in 69. I can't really do that math, but he's probably like 38. I don't know. He shouldn't have this voice.
And but he does. But when Dylan does this voice, like Dylan Prime, it's garblier. He's got gravel because he's
right. Dylan was kicked in the throat by a horse. This guy
or camel
grew up with wealth, and at least one of these songs makes that very clear.
Yeah, none of it works for me. It's sleepy. It's, for me personally, this is a watered down Counting Crows.
Yeah, it's weird because there are songs that are very up-tempo, and even those are boring, and then right after an up-tempo song, he'll really slow it down, and it's jarring because you're just like, oh, I didn't realize how boring that like very fast song was. This is terrible.
Or conversely, I didn't realize how fast that very boring previous song was.
Yeah, that's
this
fair
is so
too.
much slower.
Yeah.
At least you acknowledge these things. You still love it, but they're bad.
Garrett, this is again, I will fully admit, this is a mediocre at best album. I have 15 years before I hit the age when it's appropriate for me to like this, and I love this at 11. There might be something wrong with me. I was perhaps an old boy.
Well, Tim, you and I have been talking about this off mics. You and I think we may have had potentially mildly traumatic childhoods. Tough to say. But I think there might have been like a rapid maturity arc for us that we are on the back nine of.
Right.
And it's just arcing back down the other way, crashing towards complete childhood.
Right, because I witnessed several acts of terrorism and you were raised by your father, which
Correct.
is the equivalent of terrorism.
You're my Kobar Tower! Didn't mean anything to him then, doesn't mean anything to him now.
Nope. I know I've told you this. Why I thought, how in the 90s when cars would get in a fender bender, they would explode?
Yes,
in movies,
yes.
Not in real life, obviously.
That part's important.
So I believe for a very long time that was exactly what happened because...
You have told me this.
I don't know if I've said this on the show, but when I was probably 8 or 9, my dad and I were driving in Saudi Arabia, and we just, by probably a couple of hours, but just barely missed witnessing somebody blow up their car. And my dad, not wanting to tell me that, sometimes people just explode their cars in an attempt to kill a bunch of people, he just mentioned, that guy probably just crashed his car. That's why it's a burnt out husk and why that security booth is destroyed, trying to not ruin my faith in humanity. But instead what he did was he made me afraid that even the slightest fender bender would make my fucking car explode like I was in a 90s action movie.
Super scared of all car time.
Yeah.
God, that's great. Yeah, you have told me that. I love that you have not shared that on the show before, but how long before you figured out that's not the case?
Oh, I mean, it probably wasn't that long. In my head, it was like 7 years, but probably, It couldn't have been
more than 5.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, by the
don't
time
know.
by
When
the
did you get
time
to
I
the
was
States?
14. Yeah. Before we move on to the song by song, I just want to say these songs average 4:39 a piece. That's too long. Each one of these songs could be cut by 2 minutes, and this would be a much better album.
Yeah, you know what? You take 2 minutes off of each one of these songs, I might not hate it, but probably.
Yeah, you still would. Come on.
Oh, it's so bad. Okay, let's get into it. Track number 1, the good one, One Headlight.
So we start off with what is rapidly going to become extremely cliched sounding steel guitar and organ. And lyrically, this is an immediate attempt at both Dylan lyrics and vocals. So long ago, I don't remember when. That's when they say I lost my only friend. Well, they said she died easy of a broken heart disease as I listened through the cemetery trees. I just want to say that means nothing.
Right, correct.
It's
So that if he's not trying to Dylan it up, then the best version of this I came up with is the woman in that stanza is a reference to his innocence, but it should be mentioned that it said she died of a broken heart disease as I listened through the cemetery trees still is nonsense.
Absolutely. What I want to believe this is like, let's say that Jake was meeting his dad for breakfast at a hotel, right? And he got there and his dad was already eating, when he showed up, and he's like, hey, Dad, what you eating? And his dad was like, so long ago, I don't remember when. It's when they say I lost my only friend. And he's not even paying attention. He's reading a newspaper and eating eggs. And Jake was just like, speaking of no one's listening, just found myself some opening lyrics.
Oh, it's very possible. Now, because this album will become insanely boring very quickly, let's go ahead and add some flair. I would like to propose that this may or may not be a song about a murder or a mysterious disappearance where he immediately claims he wasn't there but might have heard something through those trees. Song continues. I see the sun coming up at the funeral at dawn and the long broken arm of human law. Now it always seems such a waste. She always had such a pretty face, so I wondered why she hung around this place.
Absolutely. I agree. I think this is his first murder. He's not allowed at the funeral, right? He's watching through those cemetery trees.
I think he had his own funeral. I think he's still in the woods and the sun's coming up and he's done the bad thing again and it's a funeral at dawn. That's when she dies. And it was such a waste. She was so pretty, but she just kept hanging around. He almost puts the blame at her feet. A little bit of a victim blame there. Shouldn't have been walking around my hunting zone.
Shouldn't have been so pretty. Jesus Christ.
That's the words of a monster. Before we get to the chorus, I do want to say it should be mentioned, and I almost want to compliment him for this. The bridge is one word, hey. But it is, of course, delivered as hey, hey, hey. And then it gets to the come on, try a little. Nothing is forever. There's got to be something better than
in the middle.
In the middle.
Me and Cinderella. God, you know what? I don't know what you're talking about. This thing fucking slaps.
We can drive it home with one headlight.
Yeah, no, this is
terrible. It's terrible. You're age appropriate now, so good, I guess, but I almost just need to chastise little boy Tim for ever listening to this.
I wish you'd stop trying to chastise little boy Tim. It's weird.
Somebody's got to put that kid back in his place. Anyway, inner children aside, let's get back to the words at hand. Try a little, nothing is forever. There's got to be something better than in the middle. I think this is, what he's probably meaning it to be is that there's some glimmer of hope in this desolate place, but I don't, known as adulthood, but I don't think that's it. I think it's an allusion to their quote unquote date ending and him having to get Cinderella back home before the carriage turns back into a pumpkin, and the one headlight represents the risk that he could be pulled over with this new body in the trunk.
Yeah, maybe he likes the risk. Maybe he's purposefully driving with one headlight and hoping he gets pulled over.
Oh, I love that. I don't know if it's conscious or subconscious, because I also get the impression that, and mostly because I know the entire album end to end now, this just keeps happening. So I get the impression that we're almost jumping into this where a guy's kind of started over and then things just got out of hand again, and whoopsie doodle, it's funerals at dawn and we're driving home with one headlight. Maybe that's the struggle, Tim. Knocked out a headlight in an effort to get away and cut him up with those shards. Good God.
Yeah.
She said it's cold. It feels like Independence Day and can't break away from this parade. It's incoherent mumblings of a Jacob Dylan, aka his father Bob, or or it's a drugged victim slowly fading away, trying to figure out where they are and what happened.
Yeah, that's fair. It goes on, well, this place is old. It feels just like a beat-up truck. I turn the engine, but the engine doesn't turn. What smells of cheap wine, cigarettes, this place is always such a mess. Sometimes I think I'd like to watch it burn. So the other possibility that I have here is that Jake hates Bob. He hates him, Garrett.
That would make sense.
And he's like, this is him trying to describe in like weird Dylan-esque terms how much he hates him, right? His dad is old. He's used up. His engine won't turn, and he definitely smells like cheap wine and cigarettes. And Jake just wants to burn the relationship down or possibly set his father on fire, allegedly. I don't know. But
it's actually not bad.
Oh, I don't know how to handle that.
No, I had two things here. Either he hates his father and he feels like he's trapped by the Dylan-esque trappings of expectation to be this wordsmith, and it feels old and it's just not working for him.
Because he's definitely not.
Right. Or I thought that this might be him returning to his, shall we say, workshop, where he's got his tools and his trophies, but he knows that he should probably burn the place down and destroy the evidence. And it just kind of smells like cheap wine and cigarettes from all his previous dates. Ugh. Yeah, it's dark, Tim. Let's see. I'm so alone and I feel just like somebody else. Man, I ain't changed, but I know I ain't the same. But somewhere here in between the city walls of dying dreams, I think her death, it must be killing me. Let's see here. Maybe he's starting to feel a little guilty, or at the very least thinks that he didn't get away with it as cleanly and might have to move on.
Yeah, and this whole thing, this I ain't changed, I ain't the same. There's another part where he says almost exactly that, and that thing harkens back. I feel like he's stolen that idea from Simon and Garfunkel's The Boxer. There's the I'm older than I once was and younger than I'll be. That's not unusual, nor is it strange. After changes upon changes, we are more or less the same. It's kind of the same idea, and it's not the last time on this album he will say pretty much that exact same thing.
Fascinating. You and I seem to have done far more research this episode than usual. I wonder why.
Because this is a great album.
Because you love it. Yeah. What do you think bringing down the horse means?
Heroin.
Interesting.
Or possibly he has some sort of childhood game where he likes to go out into a field and tackle horses.
Or maybe it's his father. Maybe his father's the old horse. He's going to take him down with his musical prowess.
Possibly.
Probably not. Track number 2, 6th Avenue Heartache.
Featuring Special Agent Adam Duritz. So allegedly, this is about a homeless man that played guitar on the doorsteps of a building across 6th Avenue in the Big Apple where Jake lived, and the lyrics relate the narrator feeling kinship with the homeless man insofar as they both live through their music. Here's the thing, Garrett. It's about that, but they're just leaving off that part where Jacob is not a good songwriter. He grew jealous of this man, and then he murdered him and stole his songs because he does not have the ability to write his own, and he's embarrassed of that being Bob Dylan's son.
It's entirely possible.
Sirens ring, the shots ring out. A stranger cries, screams out loud. I had my world strapped against my back. I held my hands, never knew how to act. He has shot a man, a homeless man, and people are screaming, and the police are coming.
Yep. Now, the big question for me at this moment was always, is he overhearing a crime or is he committing a crime? And I think you're dead on, Tim. He shot this man and stole his intellectual property.
Absolutely. And the same black line that was drawn on you was drawn on me, and now it's drawn me in 6th Avenue Heartache. Weirdly, I always remember this as being the same white line. And the way
that's interesting.
The way he says it, it's like even listening back, knowing what the right lyric is and knowing what I thought, like it's just, he says it kind of funny. And I feel like
funny
I can
you say
hear it
that
either way.
Because when I was listening to One Headlight as a child, I always thought when he says with one headlight, I always thought he was saying I wanted more. He just has a weird way of pronouncing shit. Or we're deaf.
I feel like he has a intentional Dylan-esque mutter.
Boy, you're not letting him off the hook at all. I love it.
No.
Let's see. So back to the words. Basically, he is saying the same thing that compels you compels me. We both have 6th Avenue Heartache, but of course the difference is that Jacob lives in a penthouse atop 6th Avenue, and that man sleeps in the gutter.
Right. Below me was a homeless man singing songs I knew complete. On the steps alone, his guitar in hand, its 50 years stood where he stands. So Jake is admitting he has memorized all this man's songs.
Yes.
And you know what? Maybe he didn't kill him. Maybe this man was killed by somebody else.
Maybe somebody else killed that man, and what Jacob sees is a ghost.
Oh, possibly. Possibly.
I do have in giant big letters, is this his ghosty friend?
Interesting. Well, in either case, though, if somebody else killed him, he still stole that man's songs.
Oh, yeah, it's still plagiarism. Just because he's dead doesn't make it any better. God, maybe Jacob Dylan sees dead people.
Probably.
He does say, didn't you read it just a moment ago? Where was it? Singing songs I knew complete, on the steps alone, his guitar in hand. 50 years stood where he stands. How else would he know that? He hasn't been there for 50 years. This man was there for 50 years and he's died and he just keeps playing and only Jacob can see him. Interesting. Song continues. Now walking home on those streets, the river winds move my feet. Subway steam like silhouettes in dreams. They stood by me just like moonbeams. That is something that they never warn you about, Tim, that we weren't quite ready for this past winter. That wind gets going. It really cuts between the buildings. It'll give you a bit of a shove.
Yeah, almost like a guitar playing homeless man. Or you know what? Maybe you give somebody a little shove of your own.
Whoopsie doodle, people fall in front of subways all the time. They don't, actually. It's pretty rare. Look out in the window, down upon the street, and gone like a midnight. Where was that man? And gone like a midnight? Where was that man? Okay. But I see his 6 strings laid against that wall, and all his things, they all look so small. I got my fingers crossed on a shooting star, just like me, just moved on.
Yeah. So he is looking down upon him where that man used to be, remembering all those songs he sang, all those songs that, like Bleeders, Three Marlenas, The Difference, perhaps. But again, there's a little bit of judgment there. You know, he's looking down on it. All of his things, they look so small, not like all of my big things.
In my big room?
Yeah.
Have I shown you my large room of things? No.
My large room of large things. Ooh, you're crazy.
Afterwards, I'll show you my small room of only the tiniest things. Can we get out of here? Not till you see the rooms. The only way out is in.
Oh, dear. That might be the most upsetting thing you've ever said. The only way out is in. Jesus
Only
Christ.
if you hear a door lock afterwards. Continuing on, let's even pretend for a moment he didn't brutally murder him and steal all his songs, which, okay, come on, guys, he did. But I love that he's just like, oh, you know the gunshots I heard ring out the other day and the screaming, and then the guitar guy was gone, but now his guitar's there with all of his stuff. I wonder if he just left. No, he's dead, you fuck. He's dead. He's dead, okay? Which makes me think, like, you know that. You know he's dead. You killed him. And now you're just like, oh, weird. I wonder if that murder I overheard the other day was him. He probably just left. Then we get the chorus for the 90th time in a row on this song, and we're allowed to move on to track number 3, Bleeders.
Guess I should be ashamed, but I forget to be
Slightly more upbeat, still incredibly raspy, but that's his sweet spot. So I'm going to thank it for being only a short 3:41, one of the shorter ones on the album, still so insanely boring.
Yeah, that's fair. This feels like it might be about some sort of washed up 1940s boxer, but I also think it might be about his inability to live up to his father's musical career and his guilt over murdering that homeless man for his sweet, sweet songs and organ meat.
Okay.
I mean,
I'm
look,
going to say
you take the songs, but like, you don't let those kidneys go to waste, you know?
that's just prudent. I'm going to say that this song for me locked in that this album is about a traveling serial killer who keeps changing their MO to keep an investigator off his trail.
Oh, that's a great idea. Listener, here's a tip. If you plan on murdering multiple people, do it in different ways so as to throw people off your trail.
Yeah, ideally random people too.
Oh, sure, but you do want to master those ways. Like, you know what? Do what feels
You should
right.
probably stop talking. Yeah, just let them do them. Song begins. Once upon a time, they called me the Bleeder. I'm swimming up this river with sentimental fever. And this ain't my first ride. It ain't my last try. Just gotta keep moving on. If they catch me ever, they'll throw me back forever.
Yeah, so he's swimming through the river of life, just finding people who write good songs in the village and, you know, like his father, right? Had he come across his father in 1960, we'd never know about Bob Dylan. There would be a single album called The Freewheelin' Jake Dylan and nothing after that. Or possibly, maybe a couple of years later, there'd be Jake Dylan's Harvest and...
Jake Dylan's Bridge Under Troubled Waters.
Under is a weird thing to have said there. Yeah, I completely agree.
That is a weird thing to have said there. Whatever. So yeah, he's a serial killer previously known as the Bleeder. And he's swimming through this sentimental fever, which means the urge is probably coming back over him again. It's not his first ride, it ain't his last try. But he's got to keep moving on, Tim. He cannot get caught. He's got a classic catch me if you can situation going on. Let's keep reading. I guess I should be ashamed, but I forget to be vain. I did the best I could, I guess, but everything just bleeds. Pretending for a moment that I'm dead wrong and it's not about a traveling serial killer, let me ask you, what the fuck is this about?
I mean, I had traveling serial killers, so I don't really know.
Presumably it's some sort of dude who wears his heart on his sleeve, serial monogamist or possibly serial dater at a minimum, and keeps getting hurt or hurting others and then moving on to another relationship. But that's so painfully boring, Jacob.
Yeah.
I'm frustrated.
Now, do you think his name in the press is the Bleeder because he bleeds people, or possibly he has some sort of hemophilia? They're searching for a hemophiliac murderer?
I was picturing that he was emptying people of their pesky blood.
Interesting.
Yeah, because if he's a hemophiliac, like, I feel like it wouldn't be long for them to at least figure out who it was.
Maybe he likes the sport of it. So, like, he approaches a young lady in an alley with a knife, or with two knives, one of which he's going to hand to her for combat.
Don't worry, this isn't what you think. I play fair. Here's, you take this knife. Okay, then I've got a smaller knife because I'm bigger. It's fair. Okay, let's go.
Somehow more troubling.
So troubling. Oh my God. Or you want to get really creepy with it. They called him the Bleeder because he takes all the blood out and then he just goes all Jackson Pollock with it. But like literally, like tries to make a Pollock.
Maybe that's why he only lasted one semester at that Big Apple art school.
Oh yeah, they were just like, absolutely not. This is, well, first of all, it's incredibly derivative of a Pollock, but second of all, this is clearly dog's blood. My goodness. Nice.
Yeah, that's where you're wrong. It is not dog's blood. Oh.
You're half right. Anyway, sometimes I must confess, I do feel a little overdressed. Sometimes it's hard to tell the wishing from the well, where you threw the penny and where it fell. It's kind of hard to tell, but I think he may be saying, like, he's powerless to stop his urges, and he kind of like dresses up his compulsion a little bit. Oh, you know what? I gotta back up, Tim. I don't want to miss this. In this song, he says, I sent it off in a letter. I needed something better than a nail and hammer to put me back together. I think he has started writing taunting letters to the FBI.
Interesting, or possibly to the victims' families.
Oh, that's so much worse, Mr. Fish. Look it up, kids. Albert Fish, 64 needles in his spleen, bladder, and perineum.
How do you know the number?
How do you not? I think it's 61. Anyway, let's keep going. Who gives a shit, right?
Yeah.
Track number 4, 3 Marlenas.
1, 2, 3, Marlena.
Well, we begin with a scene from the life of a prostitute.
Dude, I am so curious. Is this a song about a pimp?
I don't think so. I think it's about a sad, sad John.
Oh, interesting. Okay, you're probably right. We're gonna be dovetailing, crisscrossing on this one. Take us through it, Tim. I'll amend as we go.
All right. Alone tonight in somebody's bed, she gone and dyed her hair red. She only went and did what she did because he would drive her home then. There's lipstick on her new dress. She hadn't even paid yet. It doesn't matter where the money went. It wasn't how she paid her rent.
Okay, perfect. Clearly a prostitute, sex worker, hands down. And then here's my question. My first inclination, just like you, a John. But then I started to think maybe this is a pimp and this was a sex worker tryout.
Interesting.
Because
Gross.
it doesn't really mention him paying her.
Well, okay, sure.
Listen, you're probably right. I'm just saying there's room for interpretation.
Well, yeah. Very narrow room, I agree. But it also says it wasn't how she paid her rent. So
that's true.
The other thought in my head was like, she's got like a rich family or something. Her bills are paid. That's not why she's doing this. She's doing it because she likes it.
Doing it for the thrill, or, side hustles are very popular these days.
Well,
maybe
sure, but they weren't in 96.
That's a good point. Yeah, she's just doing it for the thrill.
Yeah.
Gross.
And again, like sort of a classic neo-noir character, she's just about to turn it around. If only this John's going to marry her and employ her as a sex secretary once he gets a job at a used car lot.
Oh, don't jump ahead yet. We got to get to the chorus. The chorus is so odd. 1, 2, 3 Marlenas. There's got to be someone we can trust out here among us. So this is what made me think it was a pimp, is that he loves Marlena, his bottom bitch, their language, not mine. And he wishes he could get 1, 2, 3 Marlenas. That's somebody he can trust out there on the streets. He auditioned Marlena. That's his bottom bitch. She's the best one in the group. And she has feelings for him, naturally. That's typically the relationship with your number one. And he wishes he could just get more Marlenas in his stable.
Interesting. Now, is Marlena a metaphor for somebody he can trust, or do you think he's literally out there attempting to lure women named Marlena into the prostituting life?
I only can hope it's the former, but most people who go into the pimp game didn't do it because they got a really high score on their SATs.
Interesting.
We might be rounding up Marlenas.
That answers another question, because as far as I could tell, there's at most 2 Marlenas in this song if the woman in the first and second verse are different people.
Yeah, I don't think that's the implication. I think he just likes Marlena and wants more of them.
Okay, fair enough.
Now, looking out across the city lights, she thought they'd be a good pair. Now, he could make a living selling cars. Maybe she could work there. And that's what you were alluding to, Tim. Of course, Marlena dreams of a better life where she's not getting railed for cash, and her guy fella, the pimp, can maybe work at a dealership, and she could not be a sex worker anymore, and that would be nice.
But maybe that's the game. She likes what she's doing, but that's her character, you see. She's the kind of girl who wants to kind of convince the John that, like, someday we're going to be together. Exactly. And that only leads to gunplay between the John and the pimp eventually.
Sure. Yeah, this is all very, very elaborate role-playing and toying with people's emotions. Very, very unwise. Let's see. Song continues. Oh, with the modified chorus. This is weird. 1, 2, 3 Marlenas. It's see no, speak no, hear no evil about us. The 3 Marlenas. I think the cops are starting to put the squeeze on him, and he wants everybody to stay quiet like Marlena. She gets it. Everybody says nothing, saw nothing, heard nothing. Sex worker? What are you talking about? I work at a dealership. We all work at a dealership.
Yes, a lady dealership.
Oh my God, you're leasing ladies. Oh, I'm sad now.
Verse 3 makes it really clear that Jake grew up with money. He says, man, I'm going to buy myself a Rolls, maybe a Chevrolet, one where I can pull that top down and just let my radio play. I love the idea of being like, what car should I get? Should I get a Rolls or maybe like a Chevy? Like, what the fuck
like
is
an
wrong with you?
S10 Blazer or like a Wraith? What? Those aren't the same, man.
They are to me, because I'm Bob Dylan's son.
Not really a car guy. Huh? You have eyes though, right? So this is what really solidified the pimp game for me, because I think he is saying, like, this isn't really working out. I think I'm going to cash in, buy a nice car. The verse continues. Now I'm headed out on that highway. I'm going right out of state. Now I ain't looking back until I'm gone, right through heaven's gates. So best case scenario, he's just on the run. They're putting the squeeze on him. One of those Marlenas spoke up and was like, we don't work at a dealership. I mean, kinda, for ladies. Anyway, worst case scenario, he's running out on them. He's purchased a new car and a handgun, and he's going to take that thing right through heaven's gates, if you know what I mean.
Ooh, I like it.
Little known secret about heaven, everybody gets in.
That's not true.
Oh, it's 100% true.
No, it's not. Stop
It's
telling people that.
100% true.
No, you have to be a good boy, and you have to wear nice shoes.
Nope, I checked in on it. More your propaganda nonsense.
So,
Everybody.
interesting. Well, I'm going to be way worse.
Fuck. Track number 5, The Difference. Welcomed upbeat tempo.
Absolutely. This kind of feels like an attempt to write like a Stand By Me or something.
Okay.
There's a couple of boys down by the river fucking around. Like,
Yeah, classic Americana.
yeah, they're gonna find a dead guy because Jake's been leaving dead guys around. And
sort of-
ladies.
Or a woman. I had never noticed how prevalent the organ was on this song and this album, in the entire oeuvre of the Wallflowers.
Oh, I had. I knew about the organ. The organ and pedal steel. There's a guy.
So much pedal steel.
The pedal steelist, he actually died right after this was recorded and right before it came out. I don't know if you looked up anything on...
no, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's Leo LeBlanc. He played with like Aretha Franklin, Merle Haggard, John Prine, George Jones, Beck, Carole King.
You know, I just recently really got into John Prine.
Oh, he's great.
Yeah, it was always like on my radar-ish. And finally, like after he died, I was like, you know what? I'm going to get into those.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's see. Song begins. 1, 2, boys by the river, down by the water, telling riddles in the dark. Tim, you love night riddles, right?
I do. Yeah, I'm scared of ghost stories, but I love a good riddle.
Love a good night riddle.
I'm terrible at like figuring it out. Like
you just like to hear them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Riddles in the dark with fireflies under the moonlight, carving the insides of a tree with a knife.
That is...
It would be so fun if it just started getting like creepier and creepier. 1, 2, boys by the river. One is naked, but only waist down. Like, huh? What's going on? There's a guy, he's in the bushes. No one can see him, and he knows that he's safe. Huh? Oh no, he got out the bushes. Wait, no. Those boys still don't see him. They're talking to each other. I don't want to keep going. What's going to happen? The only difference. No, what happened to the boys? Go back to the boys that I see. What happened? No, in this song, it's much more boring. You ever hear that one about the boy's big sister? His best friend come along. He tried to kiss her. Okay. I think this guy's just trying to lay the groundwork for dating his friend's sister, which guess what? That's a ask for forgiveness, not permission situation. They're always going to say no if you ask first.
Well, sure, but also why would you ask the brother?
What?
Why are you asking? I don't understand.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You don't ask.
Well, but why would you?
If you okay, you and I are very good friends. You have a sister. I don't know her, but if I wanted to date her, what he's saying is that I should be like, hey, I'm going to ask your sister on a date. Is that cool?
Listen, you could ask my sister on a date. It's weird. And I'm pretty sure she's going to say no because she's married and has 3 children.
Challenge accepted.
2 of whom are in the army. Well, one of whom was in the army. One of whom is currently in the army.
Jesus Christ. Never mind. One of them has an axe.
Oh, one of them chopped his toe. You don't need to worry about that one.
Yeah, just serpentine patterns. Anyway, chorus goes, the only difference that I see is that you are exactly the same as you used to be.
Yeah.
Implies some time has gone by and this guy is still trying to fuck other people's sisters or doing some other mildly off-putting behavior to best friends.
After changes upon changes, we are more or less the same. It's Simon and Garfunkel.
Oof. Wow. Making me want to go listen to some S&G. One boy lives in a tower with bow and arrow
in the artificial heart. This album slaps, Garrett.
It doesn't. This is fucking terrible. The only difference that I see. Oh God, what's happening? I love it.
Well, Garrett, it goes on. With his girl, maid of dishonor, he loaded the cannon with a jealous appetite. They say that children now, they come in all ages, and maybe sometimes old men die with little boy faces, to which I have to ask, is that a Benjamin Button reference?
I think so. That's what I'm picturing.
I'm picturing a man who dies happily in his secret basement that no one has been in. And whenever he goes down there once a week to look at the faces of all the boys he has taken over the years, plastered upon his walls, he has a bunch of little boy faces.
Oh, you've made it so much worse. So you're saying he died entombed in a wall of boy faces?
Well, yes. Of his own making, and he died with a smile on his face.
Jesus Christ.
Gotta have a hobby.
I can't read the rest of this song. Track number 6. Invisible City.
Invisible city.
Okay, Tim, I have tried to not be too oppressive, but this song categorically sucks.
This song sucks, Garrett. Slowing it down is a huge mistake for these guys.
So slow. Musically, really well produced. Gotta give T-Bone Burnett all the credit in the world. These songs are competent. They just are boring and uninteresting and possibly stolen.
Yes. This one, I think, is what happened maybe to one of those Marlenas, or maybe, just Maybe just another lady. He seems to have Chappaquiddicked somebody, and no one in LA or possibly the Big Apple cares or noticed.
Yeah, I think this is his latest MO. He's switched it up. His latest murder, he's now killing people with the use of cars to make it look like an accident, so he's not at fault.
Sure. Yeah, you get up to a high speed on the highway. You just reach over and unbuckle that seatbelt and slam into somebody. Just see what happens.
Let nature do the rest. It's not really what that expression means. Song continues, or begins, I guess. Looking back at the crash site. I don't see me by the roadside. Well, this heart is on wheels tonight. Straight through the ghettos and without lights. Smashed into somebody. He's not sticking around. Made sure they were dead and he's off like a bandit. I do want to say, Tim, if we were not putting it through our serial killer lens and just trying to be as earnest as possible with Jacob, he's basically saying he's leaving another failing relationship and he's not looking back. He's just going to hold on to his heart and get out of there.
Yeah.
And what's funny is either way, he wants you to know, not his fault.
Oh, yeah.
Or at least I'm not taking any responsibility for any of this.
Yeah, no, picture Jake walking away from a lady, right? And he's coolly putting his sunglasses on and she just explodes behind him and he doesn't look back.
I think he puts his sunglasses on, he takes the cigarette out of his mouth, flicks it behind him, and she explodes. Now every heart has a blind side where it knows how to improvise. Again, just pure gibberish, written so poorly.
Yeah, it is, but it's the kind of thing that feels meaningful, but just isn't.
Right, because he goes on, well, this place is a whorehouse tonight. Cheap lovers make expensive wives.
That last line, so to me, I wasn't sure, does he mean don't marry your prostitute, or...
That's a good rule.
Sure. But the other possible thing is that if you fuck around with prostitutes on your wife, it gets real expensive. Like,
oh yeah,
we'll just throw this out. Maybe, and I don't know what happened. It might have been art classes, Bob, but maybe a divorce leads to $36 million and half of your songwriting royalties from 1965 to 1977 on the condition that you shut the fuck up about that marriage, allegedly. I'm just saying.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good hypothetical.
If one were to claim that you started taking art classes in the Big Apple and then you didn't really know how to talk about what your new art interest is with your wife, that doesn't seem like it would cost $36 million and half of your songwriting royalties from one of the most lucrative careers there is.
Wait,
65 to 77, Garrett.
That's, oh my God. That's the good stuff.
Yeah. That's
and a little extra, really, but good enough.
Sure.
God, that's amazing. What?
Yeah, I mean,
all
that's
the cover up that they were technically married.
That's Highway 61 past Blood on the Tracks.
Wow, that's so much money. Anyway, let's see. Song continues. But all of these horses that you chase around, in the end, they are the ones that always bring you down. At best, he's calling women horses.
I ask, what are the horses, Garrett? Are they ladies? Are the ladies horses? Are the horses ladies?
He likes to call them fillies. Yeah, I think he's calling them horses. Or possibly he's saying all these things you nitpick about are the horses. You're chasing around all these stupid little things that eventually just cause me to leave you because I'm tired of hearing about it.
Yeah, and I'm not that aroused by your weird giant teeth anymore.
She has, I don't know what it is about this new girl. I can't get enough of her. She's just got that Giuliani smile.
Oh man, Giuliani smile.
Like her teeth are trying to escape her skull at any moment. Yeah, no, Giuliani smile did it. Returning back to our overarching theme, maybe all these horses are the police or FBI trying to hunt him down, chasing him around, and he's saying, ultimately, man, you keep hunting me, I'm going to turn it back around and I'm going to start hunting you.
I think it's the crime. Like, it's, he has lived a privileged enough life that he believes he should be able to take a man's life, and just steal his life's work. So he's just saying, all these horses that you chase around, all these little things that you're doing, your murders, your car wrecks that you get into on purpose, those little things, those little details are going to be the things that in the end get you incarcerated.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. Song continues very suspiciously. Now I try not to tell lies, but there's pressures from inside. So I've learned how to compromise. Good people for alibis. Why does he need alibis?
I mean...
And is he dragging them into his world of murder?
Sure, yeah, no, he's compromising good people, right? This was a good person, and now I've force them to lie under oath to, and I'm going to say this very allegedly, to Garrett Harvey the situation, just perjure the shit out of themselves.
Huh?
And
Don't explain.
my point is that they were good people and then they Garrett Harvey'd and now they're just an alibi.
I don't like that new verb. This invisible city where no one sees nothing. We're touching faces in the dark. Feeling pretty is so hard.
Now, I'm going to say this. We often talk about poor euphemisms for sex, and I will talk about that later. Touching faces in the dark, pretty sexy.
It's a good one. God, that's really funny. It seems like something parents would have invented to talk about banging in front of their 4-year-old. You need to knock before you come in because sometimes mommy and daddy are touching faces in the dark.
Gross.
Yeah. Hey, what were you guys doing? It looked like you were touching each other's faces in the dark. That's exactly what we were doing. We were touching faces in the dark. That's what mommies and daddies do, but nothing else. Ugh. Anyway, let's move on. Track number 7, Laughing Out Loud.
Got me walking up a tightrope with Vaseline from my head to my feet.
Here's where it takes a turn for me, Garrett. Perhaps he tried to kill a homeless man to steal his music, and he got real close to it, but that guy didn't die.
Oh, I love that.
And this is his response, right? Man, you ought to finish what you started. You can't leave me here alive. I know it started off as a fist fight, but you've got me covered up in hives. That doesn't mean anything. I think it just rhymed or something.
Well, now he's got his hackles up, so I love this. Way back in at 6th Avenue Blues or whatever it was called, better title, he shot him, and they took him off to the hospital. He ran off with all of the songs before the guy, before the EMS got there. He doesn't know if he died. He just never came back. That's why he was looking out and wondering if he left or if he died, because he's been looking over his shoulder the whole time, wondering if that man is still out there.
What about this, Garrett? This Jacob Dylan thought so little of this guy, he never even looked him in the face. He just stole his music and shot him. He doesn't know what this guy looks like. They
Could be his drummer.
Exactly, Garrett. There's so many people that quit this band. Maybe this song was written by a new member to that band who just kind of slid in there and was like, hey, got these lyrics for you. Why don't you sing this part? And Jake doesn't even know that he's singing a duet with the man that is there to get his revenge.
Yeah, I love it. It's delightful. Yeah, he hires a new bassist, and he really seems to get the time changes really, really well. It's going great.
It's like he's known these songs all his life.
He's an old man, but man, he plays like a young one. Man, I fucking love it. Or he's being haunted. Can't rule that out.
That's also fun. We do know that he sees ghosts now.
That's right. All right, let's keep going. I don't need an invitation. The best peach is at the top of that tree. When all this indecision reigns, it's your aimlessness that helps me see straight.
Do peaches grow on trees, Garrett?
Yes, they do too.
Oh, always imagined it more like a potato or a cabbage situation.
I should take you to Atlanta where every other street is named Peachtree, and it's confusing.
Yeah, but there's no peach trees on those. I've heard the phrase peach tree before. I thought they were being ironic.
Oh, wow.
It's like an under the ground.
I'm gonna put you on a
tree.
90-second timeout, okay? So you just don't talk for 90 seconds. Let you think about what you just said. Alrighty. Do you understand why what you said just beyond stupid?
I mean, I'm gonna say yes because I don't want another one of those timeouts. Yeah, cunt.
Time well spent. Song continues. You got me walking up a tightrope. The Vaseline from my head to my feet. You got me looking into blindfolds. I know you've got your hands all over me. So when all these imitations fail, just don't look back because I won't be there.
Right.
I think this dude's setting traps to get him.
Exactly. He's an imitation. Maybe, Garrett, we know that Adam Duritz, known FBI member, was singing on this song and toured with them. Perhaps he was specifically investigating why just everywhere the Wallflowers tour, people start dying. And so he's in this, not in this band, but he is guesting on this album. He was there in the studio that day trying to figure out exactly what was going on and why that bass player looked so familiar and also clearly has a gunshot wound to his face. Well, a healed gunshot wound, I should say.
Right. Jesus.
And he admits it, though, because laughing out loud when I didn't ever know just what it was all about. He doesn't even understand the songs or why they are better than his attempts at writing songs, right? This man has literally written a song where Jake admits that he does not understand music.
I mean, he puts that on full display in the next verse. I'm doing time inside a grapevine. Little things amuse my minds. There's nothing free except a little bit of bad advice on how to live on only water, bread, and rice.
Maybe. But Garrett, maybe this was written by the original author again. He's saying he will take his place, his rightful place as the great Wallflower, and the only thing he will leave Jake with is advice on how to live frugally after he has taken everything from him.
Oh, I do like this because originally I was going to assign this to the investigator hunting Jacob, sort of a hand-ratty situation, but yours is better. Yours is the man that's been wronged, sort of a Count of Monte Cristo situation. He is hunting down Jacob to get his revenge, and he can bide his time. He's been shot in the face, Tim. He's been homeless for 50 years, had his entire catalog stolen. It's just he's got little mind tricks to pass away the time. He'll wait, and then one day he will pounce. Who knows what that's going to look like? I don't know. How do you become the central flower?
Well, I mean, you consume Jake Dillon if you really want to get down to it.
Did you say consume?
I did, yes.
Track number 8, Josephine.
Don't you know what you
No, we are not going to talk about what you just said.
in school? Your
I wonder if this song will be about a lost love.
Oh, this is a weird attempt to talk somebody into letting you be inside of them.
You're not wrong. I feel pretty good. I feel all right. And I've been thinking maybe, well, I could spend the night.
Not gonna happen. Not with that game.
Yeah, well, here's what I said. I think that this is a man pretending to be a little girl's imaginary friend in order to lie low from the authorities.
Oh, dear.
I know. Well, he says, I know you've been sad. I know you've been bad. But if you let me, I'd make you ribbons from a paper bag.
I'd make you ribbons from a paper bag is officially the new worst euphemism for sex.
Oh my God, I almost fell out of my chair. I assumed that's what made me think he was talking to a little girl. Because,
Yeah.
that's not what you say to an adult woman.
Sure, but I mean, ugh.
Song continues. Josephine, you're so good to me, and I know it ain't easy. Josephine, you're so sweet. You must taste like sugar and tangerines. I just gotta say, across the board, I am openly grossed out by people discussing how other people may or may not taste.
Sure. You've made that very clear, and I concur. We then immediately go on to some sort of weird incel backtrack on that sex offer with the tangerines and the ribbons from a paper bag. He says, I won't make a sound, sleep on the ground. When you wake, I will drive you into town.
That's what makes me think he's just lying low. He's not getting sex. I think he really will help her make ribbons from a paper bag. Did you ever see that weird Dennis the Menace movie?
The one with Walter Matthau? Yeah.
Do you remember that 20-minute sequence where we all thought Dennis was going to be brutally murdered under the highway?
Yeah,
when he runs.
Doc Brown, right?
Yeah, it's truly terrifying.
Yeah,
that's
he
what
eats
I'm
those
picturing
beans
here.
and gets those
Oh my
beans
God.
spotted in his face. Let's watch Dennis the Menace tonight.
Anything but Godzilla.
I know this movie so well.
I swear to God, the first time I watched it, though, I was just like, "What are we doing here?"
Yeah. No, he's gonna stick him in the liver with that knife.
Gotta get some beans.
Okay.
God. Anyway,
but honestly,
that's what I'm
I
picturing.
think you're right because, I missed your smile, your schoolgirl style, but I never had much fun. Maybe the first mile. I watched you walking home from school. Your friends on the old playgrounds. You never looked so down.
What else could it be about?
Jesus Christ. Yeah, no, it is about attempting to spend the night on a small child's floor.
She caught him peeping, and she was just
okay.
he's watching her at school. He knows what happened, and she was just like, "Why are you looking at me?" And he was like, I'm your imaginary friend, Mr. Papers, and no one can see me but you, and there's a monster that's going to eat me, so I need to hide out in your house.
And I'm Bob Dylan's son.
And we can make paper ribbons. You can call me Jacob. I'm Bob Dylan's son. Hi, I'm Bob Dylan's son. Next. Let's keep going. We'll assume that little girl got eaten or something. Track number 9. God don't make lonely girls.
Senorita, looks like you ain't done nothing.
Oh,
Yeah, this is just a straight country song now.
Yeah, it's a honky tonk.
Yeah. It seems to be an incredibly sad story of a guy that thinks a stripper actually likes him, that they have a future together. That's never true. Strippers are empty. They will never love you.
Yeah, they're incapable of it. It's not their fault.
Yeah.
Somebody broke them years before you met them.
Yeah.
That's how they got there. This song is great. It might be my favorite song. He says, Senorita.
Wait. Your favorite song of all time?
No, on this album,
Oh.
you fool. This album's terrible.
It is terrible, but it's likable if you're 11.
Or 50. Song goes, Senorita looks like you. Ain't done nothing good women ain't supposed to do. Oh, no.
I had to really think about, there's a lot of double negatives and shit in this album. Just what exactly, like, not only what does this mean, but let's like clear up some of the grammar here.
Yeah, once you parse it, basically he's saying you shouldn't feel bad. I seen her downtown about an hour ago, behind the glass at a peep show. I got nervous because I don't know, can she see me behind that window? And so, folks, couple things. One, Tim, I assume you're familiar with the classic peep show layout, right?
I know about peeping.
That's right. For folks who are uninitiated, this sounds like a classic peep show situation where literally you pay money, like, or tokens, I think, and a little screen comes up and there's a woman on the other side typically doing something mildly sexy. In the super old school ones in New York, I heard, never been. Also, I would have been like 7, but they would be like a circle. And so you could kind of like see the dudes in the other booths.
Ew.
Yeah. And like the woman would be in the middle, but basically like they jay off in these booths staring at this chick. And so this guy went to one of these jerk off booths about an hour ago and he was curious. Wait a minute. Can she see me jaying off while I stare at her? And of course she can is the answer, which brings me to a story I want to tell. Tim, and I promise you the story I'm about to tell is not me. That's important. I would admit it, probably, or just not bring it up. A friend of mine, he was a year older than me. When he turned 18, he was like, I'm going to a strip club. And I was like, have at it, my man. And he went. And I don't know if I've ever told you this story, Tim. I think I have. And he goes to the strip club and they're like, all right, just wait here. There's like a lobby. And they're like, we'll bring you back in just a moment. And he's very confused because that's not how strip clubs work. And they go and they come back and a woman leads them into a back room where there's a leather recliner and an end table and a lamp. And she's like, have a seat. And he's like, all right, I guess I'm just going to get like a private lap dance. That's fine. And she's like, so I'm going to be dancing for you. And while I do, I just want you to get as comfortable as you like. And he's like, oh, that's a weird thing to say. And he's like, well, what do you mean like as comfortable as I like? She's like, just get as comfortable as you'd like. And he's like, as comfortable? And she was like, just, as comfortable. And she keeps using that very specific legalese. And at this point, he looks over and he realizes there's a drawer in this end table. And he opens the drawer and there's an assortment of lotions and towels. This dude just solo cranks it to this girl stripping in a room in front of him.
I mean, after she said get as comfortable as you want like 6 times, like it's awkward if you don't.
God, you know what? I've never thought about that. You're absolutely right. You don't want to offend her.
Yeah.
Fascinating. But that's always made me laugh because I think I would have just been like, nah, I don't think I will. This is weird.
Right.
Is somebody
and then
gonna
you'd have
punch me in the face?
You'd have gotten beat up by some sort of pimp.
God, you're probably right. Because yeah, that is prostitution, isn't it?
It skirts a line.
Yeah, if she's on the other side of the room, if the police came, would a valid defense be what I'm doing over here has nothing to do with what she's doing over there? I'm super into end tables. Anyway, so song continues. It's almost 9 and I'm back in line. I can't get the girl with the Spanish tears out of my mind. I've got to make her mine, all mine, but something's is wrong. She don't belong. She ought to be back where she's from. And pause. Spanish tears. Is she crying? Is that her peep show thing? Do the little dividers come up and she's just a crying woman?
I mean, there's gotta be people into that, but
I'm sure there's people into that. Oh, I have mouth sweats. That's disgusting. Oh, yeah. That's a tough puberty. Because, you got your friends and you're just like, oh, yeah, check out her boobies. Oh, yeah, man, check out her boobies. Oh, check out her. She's weeping openly. Huh?
yeah.
Paul, you don't get horny, right? I don't want to be your friend.
Yeah. It's always tough, though, because it's like somebody that has like a weird fetish for like calves. It's there's always nudity to you out there in the world, just constantly, if that's what you're into.
Oh, that would be amazing. What if you were just into ceramic mugs?
Right, exactly. Or let's say, again, a different part of the human body. Let's say pinky fingers. That's just your thing. And you're just constantly seeing those, the equivalent of vulva just out there.
I may bleep that. You becoming clinical is one of the grosser things on the planet. Song continues. But God don't make lonely girls. Sure don't want them in this world. God don't make lonely girls. Yeah, do.
This is the creepy sort of phrasing
that precedes a sex crime.
It does, or at the very least, it precedes and you can't be lonely with that kind of badonkadonk, guys. Let's approach her.
Or worse, what do you mean you're not interested, sweetheart? God don't make lonely girls.
You ain't gonna be lonely tonight.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. Yeah. So he's repeatedly going to the back of the line to re-jerk it to this crying woman, and he intends to make her his. I also want to point out that at the end of that chorus, we just kind of peter out to a simple do.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's placeholder.
And again, that's Simon and Garfunkel-esque, right? The boxer is the lies. Now, when I make that girl all mine, I'm gonna stand by her once I get inside of her barbed wire. Once I get inside. I bet she'd look good in a brand new dress. She never felt good in a fishnet. She's got to be this town's best mess, but it ain't nothing that her face would suggest. This is a guy who he's spent 20 years with this woman in his mind, and he just observed her in some sort of weird crying booth, for the past 20 minutes. But ugh.
What if that's like that's the freak show of the freak show? Come one, come all, see the geek, the man who nails a 6-inch spike into his skull, the bearded lady, the 1-ton man. Watch a woman cry. What was that last one? The bearded man. We got everything. Lizard boy, lobster child, crying women. Oh my God.
Definitely takes a different tone. Because she's coming home with me. I ain't even going to touch her at all. Man, I'm only going to lie awake and watch her sleep. This is the second song in a row where Jake insists that he would like to be in a room with a sleeping person, and he's definitely not going to do nothing.
Well, it sounds like it's not very voluntary.
Oh, yeah, no, she's coming home with me.
I ain't even going to touch her at all. Ugh.
Yeah.
Get as comfortable as you like. I'm going to lay awake and watch her sleep. Man, we've had such a day together. I watched you cry all day at work, and then I just watched you sleep all night. I love watching you do stuff, but what choice does she have? Big guitar solo that would fit into a Troy Brooks song, and then it's pretty much on to track number 10, the inscrutable Angel on My Bike.
Garrett, I hate this song, and I think they should have skipped it, and I think we should skip it. It's...
Yeah, it's really bad. I will just say the best I came up with, I'm not making any jokes. I think this song is about somebody that administers his heroin for him so that he doesn't take too much too quickly.
Interesting. Now that is a good friend.
That is a good friend. That's a trustworthy friend. Or a severe drug addicted friend. Yeah, let's skip 10. I love that plan. Track number 11, the also not great, I Wish I Felt Nothing.
This is apparently a song about that pedal steel player that died.
I do love pedal steel, and this one's the best example of it on the album.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's about the pedal steel player that died, but the pedal steel player is playing on this song. What the fuck?
Oh, that's creepy.
Yeah, I think he's just lying.
Yeah, probably. He's also singing with a dude named Stephen Bruton, who is a 40-year collaborator and bandmate of Chris Christopherson. So if this sounds like a country song, it's because it is.
Yeah.
I also thought I heard his dad doing backup vocals at one point, and that was when I went out and I looked, and I was like, nope, there is zero recorded history of these two ever playing music simultaneously near each other. I just don't want to ruin our relationship. I don't really feel like we have one because we didn't grow up together, and also you don't return my calls, and I had to jump two fences to get in here. It just doesn't feel right. I don't know. We don't really ever speak, and I find you as inscrutable as the media.
So long ago, I don't remember when. It's when they say
I had this song about a headlight. You want it or not? Yeah, I'll take it. I'll get out of your really weird fake hair.
Send it off in a letter. need something better.
Yeah, you're a real ghoul. Oh.
God, I love him so much.
I was going to say, Tim and I both love Bob Dylan, but we also simultaneously had, third row or first row seats at a Bob Dylan concert, and we're like, hey, let's go see how it looks like from the last row.
Yeah. We were mostly there for the Sean Lennon and the Beck and the Wilco playing Beatles songs with Sean Lennon and Beck.
Yeah, though we had no idea that was going to happen.
Disagree.
What? You didn't even know Sean Lennon was in the state?
I know when Sean Lennon's in a state that I'm in.
Now you do. Anyway, song goes, say when you're alone, it's better because nobody knows you. When no one's your friend, it's better because nobody leaves you. So you turned your back on a world that you could never have because your heart's been cracked and everyone else is going mad. Some sort of emotionally walled off person that's driven himself to a series of murders of convenience and enjoyment, and maybe an FBI agent trying to talk him down or capture him finally at the end of the album. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it does sound like he kind of feels maybe guilty, or possibly he's just mad that, listen, he's Bob Dylan's son. He should be able to just come out and tell people what he did. It shouldn't fucking matter.
Let's see. The chorus is, but I hear voices and I see colors, but I wish I felt nothing. Then it might be easy for me like it is for you. Maybe this is about his unresolved issues with Daddy.
Oh, sure. Yeah. It's easy for Dad to write a song. Not for me. I gotta kill people.
I hear voices. I see colors.
I have a bad news for you about how songwriting works. It's got almost nothing to do with hearing voices and seeing colors.
You have synesthesia. And it's probably going to stand in the way of you writing music. Now, all of these people come up from the deep holes pulling you down. It's just no use when all the abuse follows you round. By the morning, you've gone, leaving me here all alone. I don't know. Death follows him around. It'll haunt you until it finally catches up to you and you're brought down by your past sins.
Sure.
Yikes. I feel like we are limping to the end here, gang. And I know you believe that you and me don't belong here, and the worst we could do is keep trying to pretend we care. Oh, big twist ending on the whole album. Every one of these songs was about breaking up. Good stuff.
Breaking up with his dad. His dad breaking up with him.
Him breaking up with his dad, and his dad routinely trying to tell him we were never a thing. Tim, how did this do?
Pretty well, Garrett. It sold more than 4 million copies in the US alone. It hit number 4 on the US Billboard 200. It hit number 9 on the Australian chart, number 40 on the Austrian 3 chart, number 6 in Canada, number 1 in New Zealand, number 12 on the Swedish Sverigetoplisten, number 58 in the UK. Unclear how it did in the Dutch, but I swear to you I will find out later this month when I go investigate the Dutch.
I hope that trip gets canceled.
Oh, God damn it. You better not cancel my trip. It sold at least one copy in Saudi Arabia. It is the 86th best-selling album of the 90s.
Jesus Christ. Also, you said it was very popular.
Yes.
In Saudi Arabia.
Yes. Well, I don't know how popular it was. I only know of the one album that sold, but it was very popular.
I feel like it was very popular with you.
Yes. And all the
God damn it.
all the cool people, Garrett.
What did people think of it?
Well, Garrett, we don't have a Robert Christgau review. However, we do have a Robert Christgau grade. He gave this a little face with a straight line for a mouth, which I looked this up. It's what's called, what he refers to as a neither. A neither may impress once or twice with consistent craft or an arresting track or two, then it won't.
I might vaguely agree with Robert Christgau. I think he was trying poorly to define the word meh.
Yeah, well, it is the meh emoji.
There you go. Let's see. Any other reviews?
Well, there are 728 reviews on Amazon, 4.7 out of 5 stars on average, 85% 5-star, 3% 1-star, and I have 2 for you. The first is by Jonathan W. Cardwell, and he's titled his review, Sometimes an Amazing Listen from May 21st, 2006. On a rare occasion, I can listen to this album and almost be transported into 1997 when I moved from Central California to Southeast Missouri, and less than 6 months afterward, meeting a young lad a few years older than me, hired as a quote-unquote mentor by the local therapist / psychiatrist office named Brad Jennings, who is totally into the whole music scene of that time, listening to the radio, devouring every last piece of information as to who sang what, even when the song never hit high in the charts, and he kind of filled filled me in on what had been happening when I was locked up in a quote-unquote group home. And then he defines that. A temporary foster home for groups of people of the same gender, so no sexual harassment went on, who have problems in their own lives. Between 1992 and 95, a critical time in the life of rock and roll. The people I was around primarily listened to rap, and the first person who introduced me to R&R was a snot-nosed brat who had really finicky opinions about music and all else. So she really wasn't a good source of how to appreciate any popular culture. What I think is odd about how I associate this CD with mid to late 90s popular culture is the music on this CD is kind of like folk/country with a healthy dose of pop/rock to make me like it. I was raised on the 80s, what can I say? So you can say this CD fits with anyone who doesn't absolutely hate country or folk or pop or rock. If you have an open mind, you'll like this CD. 4 out of 5 stars.
There's a 4 stars.
There's a whole like Jacob Dylan-esque tale about how he was maybe molested and how he was locked in a group home for a while.
Yeah, with like no access to music.
Yeah, but Brad Jennings was there. Brad Jennings took care of all his needs, Garrett. He was an older boy. He was a mentor at the local therapist/psychiatrist office. He mentored him.
I do not like the way you read that.
5 out of 5 stars to Brad Jennings. 4 out of 5 stars to the Wallflowers bringing down the horse.
Now I definitely want to make shirts that just say Brad Jennings, 5 out of 5 stars.
Garrett, the next review is by Pulling Cheek Swirl Better Shake Up. It's titled I'll Be Slammed and is from 2017.
I don't think this is going to make any sense. Go ahead.
The same black line that was drawn on you is drawn on me, and now it's drawing me in. Like Clinton hysteria about Vince Foster as somebody we used to work with following us like a friend and dying by self-inflicted gunshot wound, those who had responsibility for running Enron felt the fickle finger of fate when somebody who had been part of the inner circle died by self-inflicted gunshot wound after the price of Enron stock dropped instead of rising to magic wand corporate kingdom ruler's dream bounty life after death. The only difference that I see is how we become what we used to be. Any kid aware enough to be exposed to confusion can identify with something about this life as a success story. 5 out of 5 stars.
What? So again,
2 people died of very alleged suicide in that review.
I keep saying this, and it's becoming more true. People carry whatever it is they were doing into reviews. So this guy gets done reading The Smartest Guy in the Room and is like, I gotta write a review for the Wallflowers, and I'm gonna make as many Enron references as possible.
Yeah, and also that time that Vince Foster was suicided by the Clinton crime family, Garrett.
Yeah, I didn't even follow that.
I don't know.
Yeah, you know how fun it would be to learn that there were these like big political driven assassinations throughout the world. Like I just don't think the world is that interesting.
Yeah, I mean it's really easy to think everything's a conspiracy if you don't know anything about anything.
Yeah, that is true. Anyway, let's wrap this baby up. Who's this for?
This is for Bob Dylan, Garrett. Bob.
Yeah.
Please pay more attention to your boy. He's so desperate for your acceptance. Tell him you like his music, the stuff he actually wrote, not this, obviously, so that he stops killing people.
Do you think he's heard this?
Oh, he's had to. Yeah, Garrett, this is the sort of thing that whoever his wife was in 1996 was like, I'm putting this on, and you're going to listen to it at least once all the way through. So if you ever see him, like maybe because you guys occasionally show up at the same Grammys, and he's going to fucking ask, you got to be able to at least like quote a line or something.
Or just competently not have to lie. You're terrible at it.
Yeah.
Mostly because you refuse to. I don't see the point. Feelings, Bob. Feelings is the point, you fucking psychopath. God, you're a monster. I love you. Anyway, that pretty much brings us to final thoughts. I pointed out repeatedly how terrible this is, Tim. Is there anything you want to add to your review before we get to the final question?
I think this would be much better had it been an EP where they cut 2 minutes off every song and cut out all the slow songs and the country songs.
Quite astute.
And maybe
Then,
some of the singles.
Let's get to it then. Did we overcome the wave of nostalgia that you've been bathing in all week? Do you, Tim, hate this album?
No, Garrett, I don't. This is, I will admit, definitely worse as a whole than the singles somehow. It's much worse than I remember, but I do not hate this album. I don't.
It's the most disappointed I've been in you in a very long time.
Yeah. What about you, friend? I assume I didn't get you there. I didn't reverse get you there.
No, Tim. No, you didn't. I hate this. We skipped a song. We were very loose with the details on the other songs. We may have I know we spent more time on the history. This is bad.
It was good history. I did a lot of work this week.
History's great. Just not doing Bob Dylan this week, so I don't know what that first 2 hours and 14 minutes were.
Context.
We'll see. I'll keep some of it. Anyway, no, I hate this. It was really bad. I fell asleep every time I put this on. It is so fucking boring.
That's completely fair. Everything you've said is completely fair. I don't hate it.
It's like every track is a new sweater you have to put on, and the heat goes up a degree. And it's just like, try to stay awake. I'm just going to shove some more pills in your mouth and you get another sweater. Try to stay awake. Track number 8. Ugh. I hate this. All right. You don't hate it. I hate it. I hate you for not hating it. Let's bring this baby home. As always, folks, write in hatePodMail@gmail.com, or you can go to hatepod.com and click on contact us in the upper left-hand corner. You can find the podcast on all the platforms in which podcasting podcast. You can also find us on Instagram. That's HatePod. Twitter's Album HatePod. I'm G Harvey Tweets on Twitter. And boy, we want to hear from you. Reach out with your suggestions, your hopes, your dreams, your artwork, your song submissions, your segment interstitials, anything you want to contribute to the show. We'll give it a listen, look, or sniff. And if it's good enough, we'll feature it here on the show. Sometimes if it's bad enough, we'll feature it here on the show. You won't know which. If you get a chance, please go out, rate, review, subscribe, follow, pledge allegiance to whatever it is your platform asks you to do to let them know I like what these folks are doing. Makes a big difference for us. We're on YouTube too. I don't actually know what our website is, but you know how YouTube works. You could subscribe to us out there. Do us a favor. Not asking for much. If you have close friends or relatives that will actively give you their phone, go ahead and grab it, unlock it, subscribe to our podcast, close it. They never need to know. Just make sure it downloads automatically. Not asking for a lot. If you got the time, head over to a local Apple store, go to each phone in the displays, download our podcast, make sure it downloads. It's going to reset every day, so you're going to need to return at least once every other day to redo that. Not asking for much. I think that just about does it for Why I Hate This Album. I have been one of your hosts, Garrett Harvey.
I have been the other, Timothy Richardson, and when he was in middle school, Garrett Harvey accidentally killed a kid at space camp.
No, I witnessed a kid dying at space camp. There's a big difference. That rocket fell on him. I did not cut those strings.
But you know strings were cut.
No, the cables probably just snapped from natural fatigue.
Garrett killed a kid at space camp.
No, I witnessed a kid being smashed at space camp. I was just the closest to the display and the cut cables.
There's cowboys running through my dreams. Nothing's quite the way it seems. I joined the Navy, got kicked out in a week. My facial features aren't distinct. Try to find some meaning in these songs. The genius is a genius, got it wrong. No, it's a lobster murder sex thing. It's the bleaching of the rear. A full assault on both your ears. The riffs are too repetitive. The lyrics make no sense. All the songs are B-sides. The cover art's a mess. Listen to it for a week. Now that week has passed. It's the Why I Hate This Album podcast with Tim and Gary.